anyway, thanks for joining me in my Northeast Ohio home. And I don't know, it's just is pretty much what it sounded like is I don't know about you, but this past weekend was basically knitting and crochet Super Bowl because I got to stay home guilt free while I got what, like 2 or 3 feet of snow, something like that. So I was not sad at all to, have a little bit of snow and an excuse to stay in and not feel guilty whatsoever. So, hi, Kaylin. Hi, Sabrina. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining me. I'm always glad to see you guys around and also in the Facebook group. So, yeah, so this is just a kind of a chill evening hangout, nothing too crazy tonight. And I'll just talk about some of the things I have been working on. And of course, you can feel free to go ahead and throw in the comments anything you have been working on. Yes, it is a lot of snow. I'm in Ohio and it's like we had the last 3-4 winters were so mild that it just felt so weird. This is the first year in a while that I actually paid someone to clear out my driveway. So stimulated that teenage economy and spirit. And hello, Jen. Thanks for joining this evening. And like I said, I don't have much of a plan other than talking about all the stuff I've been working on. So I guess I'll go in chronological order and then we can look at what I've actually been working on recently. Behind me, finally, we could argue this is not finished because of all the ends, and also I have not blocked it, but my Mistral blanket is finally done. 8 balls of yarn. And so, is this back at the front? I don't know what I'm doing. Also, Milo is apparently decided he's going to try to pull the plug out for my ring lights. So I guess now we're really extra cozy evening vibes, and hopefully you can see just fine. I should have expected nothing less from a boy cat because they're just like boy toddlers. Anyway, so yeah, I just have to weave in the ends, and if you're new around here, this is actually more of a physically demanding job for me because I had a hand injury previously that those little like super fine holding a needle is not fun. I've gotten a lot better since I've started this at weaving ends as I go in. Did I actually continue to do that on this? No, but in other projects I'm doing better at that so that it's not one big taxing effort at the end. Also, because it's been single digits Fahrenheit, which is negative in Celsius, I have not felt compelled to block anything because that meant putting stuff in cold water and then spreading it out in a house that I'm struggling to heat and have that dissipate off. So why bother? So yeah. No, that's the worst. I unfortunately have been in that boat where I was not able to crochet or knit for quite some time. So thanks, Sabrina. Thank you. It was a lot, but I'm glad I stuck through. How do you block a blanket? So I actually haven't fully figured it out. So this is wool. This is Knit Picks City Tweed Aran, which is discontinued. If there's anything left, it's like one color. The DK is still available in a different pink. This is like a dusty, rosy, mauve-y kind of color. So I still have to like just wet it. I don't know if I'm going to try to steam it first and just kind of just flatten it out. And because you can see like here it wants to squish up, like scrunch up, and you don't really see all of the lace detail. In theory, my craft room would be the ideal place because I could close it off and, spread it around along the floor. and either just kind of like spray with like a spray bottle misting thing or steam it, that room is still trash. So someday I will get to that. And I don't know if I have enough blocking mats. The other consideration I have in my mind is doing it over the shower curtain, because a lot of times that's what I do with my sweaters is I'll like dry them or partially dry them in the dryer, which I wouldn't take my chance on this yet. I do have a little bit of this left, so I might make a swatch and run it through the washer and dryer on a couple of different scenarios. I have found that that is the best use of your swatch. And why I also was team no swatch for a while, but like now I'm like, no, I swatch almost everything. And that information that you can get from a swatch is actually really, really telling. So I might go ahead and make a little swatch, throw it through the laundry to see what it does in the dryer. Without knowing that, I'm not doing that yet, because even my gentlest it's still a tumble dryer. I don't have the rack or whatever. I think my dryer is like supposed to have that capability, but oh well, I don't know. It was secondhand. So, um, you know, I hadn't thought of that, because I should know better that there are a lot of people that like, and myself included, because here I am thinking, well, blocking is relatively basic, but I still don't even know what I'm doing with it. Um, the other thing I could maybe do is on the guest bed if I have enough blocking mats. I'm not convinced. This is pretty much a throw size. So like it's not like a twin size or anything. And you can see like it will stretch and block out quite a bit once I do that effort. Um, so I'm happy to share that and all of the potential failures. And hi, Tina. Thanks for joining. We're just talking about stuff I've been working on. This is my first finished object of 2026. This was one of my long-running whips that if I remember correctly from Ravelry, I want to say I started this around 2021 and then clearly had abandoned it for a while. So I will work on ends while I'm watching TV and all that sort of fun stuff. And then the next thing I got hyper fixated on, and this is I'm kind of glad. It's one of those things where we get these whips and we set them aside because we've become disenchanted. Excuse me. This was a situation of I had collected all of the colors of, it was Regia, Flormania, I think Schatzenmeyer, I'm probably pronouncing that poorly, is the yarn brand house. And I was in this, like, collected them all and then also knit them all into socks all at the same time. And I felt like doing that to myself made me burnt out on it. But then now I got to rediscover the joy of how fun these are to work with without that pressure, because it's like fun and new and shiny again. This is the zigzagular sock, and it's hard because this also is going to need to be blocked, which I generally do not block my socks, but in this case, I probably will, and I will probably only like flat block it. I'm not going to get the actual sock blockers. I don't actually have any. I don't know if I know anyone that has any that I could even borrow from, locally anyway. So that's been a super fun hyperfixation. And then I got to the point where I got into the heel, and I worked on this probably throughout the course of a week. If you're newer around here, last year my goal was, okay, first of all, I started with an insane number of whips. I think it was like 36. I don't remember what I'm down to now. But the strategy I was trying to use at the beginning of last year that I unintentionally started doing this year is during the week working on something that has been abandoned. And then on the weekends, I can work on something new. Sort of. It's not been a perfect thing. So, yeah, that's what I'm thinking, is just somewhere on the floor that the cats can't get to it. going to be hard. Which means really that's my motivation to clean up that room and stop dumping stuff. So I have largely been doing that, but not perfectly. So yeah. And then this was because this was actually the project that was in my car. So I have a crochet sock that was my like portable travel project and had somewhat gotten abandoned because I hadn't been going to any of the live groups in my area. This is the Basic Crochet Sock by Olga Poltava. I partially I'm omitting the ribbing because I do like the ankle shorty socks. Also because these 50-gram balls run a little bit short for her pattern. So yeah, nothing too crazy. This was easy to work on while I was at the dealership getting some work done, some warranty work, and then also I was like, just go ahead and change the oil and everything. So I was there for quite some time and had that to work on. So the big thing that I was pushing to work on, and yes, I have all the swatches. Okay, if you want to bear with me for like 5 seconds, I'm going to go ahead and put the light back on and get it plugged back in because that's going to be way more showing of what's going on here. Yep, he really did fully unplug it. Cool. I think once you see the swatches, you'll see why. So I started with trying to hit gauge on just some K&C that I had purchased from the Joann going out of business sale. This is their version of like drops air or a blown yarn or something like that. And there were very few colors left when I picked this up. And I had this idea that I wanted to, like, I've always wanted to do the ranunculus, but more similar to the main project photo where it's like billowy and whatever. And then, so when I got this in, I was like, well, why don't I make it a ridiculously like Valentine's saccharine, like just go super over the top girly. I had a really hard time getting gauge and a fabric that I liked. So then I played around with putting an alpaca silk strand in, and I've never done anything that was stranded. So I was swatching and I actually hit gauge and got a fabric that I liked. So cool. Also, this color isn't the best on me, and I'm also team you don't always have to use your like most optimal colors. So I was fine with that on its own. So then of course I'm like, okay, well maybe something like this, which I was not mad at all. I actually really liked this. And where's the other swatch? That is not a swatch. But I brought actually all the swatches in to work one day and asked a coworker, I'm like, okay, here, she's really good at color in general. So I'm like, okay, I have this, which I think does me more favors than just the plain pink. But, and I like, this is still Valentine's-y and everything. It's kind of similar to one of my crochet sweaters already. And then there was another type like of the same yarn, another color that I had gotten that on the computer screen, I did not realize how very loud it was going to be. So let me grab just a ball of this. And so this is really in your face, but paired with the pink, like how it tamps it down, I think this brightens my face up a lot better. So that's what I'm going with for my ranunculus. And so that was probably about a 2-week hyperfixation until I needed a little bit of a break. And keep in mind, I do work full time. So it's not like this is 2 weeks solid of knitting, but I am mostly loving how it's turning out. And yes, this will turn into like a full review because why not? I think since you're here live, I'll give you the one thing I struggled with the most is this neckline because the wrists are an I-cord edge. The bottom is also ribbed, but I don't know that I want ribbed. I think I want also a rolled hem, which means this is kind of out of place. Also, because I know Sabrina's also working on hers, there's the option for a wider neckline and a narrower, less wide, like the normal, I guess, neckline. So I wanted it to be on the wider side. So yes, I can block the snout out of this. That would be fine, except as you go up in size, the neckline doesn't change your cast on at all, which that's probably my main complaint, which really is not that big of a complaint for a pattern, if I'm being honest. So I think I am eventually most likely going to rip the collar back out and figure something else out. I did see a couple of other project pages where they also did that and did something more like an I-cord or a rolled neckline, and I did happen to like the look of it. I wanted to go with what it recommended just to see. And again, I could block it to what I want. I just don't want to have to do that every time I wash this sweater. So I prefer to like steam my sweaters. So anyway, yeah. The problem is like I like all the color combinations. I really do. So that's why I had to bring in like a coworker and be like, tell me what I'm making. And so this is what we landed on. And hi Lynn, glad you could join. I'm still yapping about everything I've been working on. So I did do a little bit on this weekend, but not a ton. I'm in the body of the sweater, which means it's just miles of stockinette for now. If you're not a knitter and you're just a crocheter, that's basically like single crocheting for miles. So, and then the most recent thing I started was, I think I started this last night. And I know I wanted to do more gift crochet and gift knitting, and that's cool. I wasn't necessarily intending to do this other than, I don't know why, I just was kind of like, I've really never done anything for my sister-in-law for her birthday, which is February 7th. So it might be fun to do something quick, like a quick pair of socks, whether it's in DK bulky, something like that, or fingerless mitts. She's a freeze baby. I'm apparently just never going to warm up today. I've done everything. I've exercised. I've run up and down the hallways. I know you think I'm like joking, but I'm not, and I cannot warm up today. So when I texted my brother yesterday, I'm like, hey, it's like lunchtime. I'm like, what's Miriam's favorite color? He said red. I searched my stash. I only have one red yarn, and that is the one that I was going to save until I hit my goal weight and do a Christmas sweater. However, it's fingerless mitts, and let's be honest, it's not going to take a ton of yarn. So I started crocheting on these. They went super quickly. That's why I named this a crochet chat, because I thought I would still like be working on at least like the edging and stuff, but they assembled very quickly together last night. So now I'm just adding ribbing. The only reason I switched to a knit rib on this was because in all of the project photos that showed the crochet ribbing, it just felt really chunky of a crochet ribbing compared to how delicate the design is. Because I do sometimes like the crochet ribbing look. I just felt like it didn't quite vibe there. So I went ahead and picked up, and I'm doing a 2x1 ribbing on these, and I don't want to do a try-on because my hands are much larger than hers, number one. Number two, this does need to be blocked, and I'm on DPN, so I'm going to lose them. So, and thank you, everyone. I know. So those are the projects that I was largely working on during the Arctic Blast. And of course, I want to hear what you have been making, and I appreciate all the compliments. This is the winter flower fingerless mitts. I was looking at so many patterns this weekend, and then, So we'll go from there. I didn't, of course, bring the other sock, the one that's actually finished, but I do want to, I think next, start working on the second sock for a pair that I started probably 3-ish years ago at this point, maybe a fuzz longer. So I feel like I have a lot going on, and I surprised myself by having 2 new starts. For a little while, I was having a hard time getting started on just the ranunculus, and I don't know. It's a well-written pattern, but it's a lot of decisions on the front end, like the wider versus the regular neckline, and I don't know. I was just feeling very indecisive on all of those things, and I think in the back of my mind, I even was like, do I want a ribbed neckline though? And I should have listened to that little voice in my head, except that I also didn't really feel like doing an I-cord cast on and doing that kind of like mental gymnastics either. So I'm kind of not sad that I did the ribbing, and then I'll just undo it. And if I want to do an I-cord or a rolled hem neckline, I can do that. So yeah, so a lot going on. I didn't want to increase my whips by 2 necessarily right out of the gate, but also I was also in this place of like, some of these other ones, they're just taking longer, and I wanted just like a little breather project. And the fact that I started this yesterday and they're nearly complete, this is exactly what I needed, was something that it was like, ooh, make a square, ooh, make a square, seam them together, put borders on them, and then, she'll have a pair of fingerless mitts for her birthday, and I know she will definitely appreciate them. So Sabrina. Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I know someone had questioned either in a video or in a live stream, like, why don't you work a season ahead? And maybe it's like, if you've ever worked in retail, you get sick of working ahead, and also like, okay, it's what we'll just call it 2 feet of snow. Maybe I was being dramatic with 3. I don't know. To me, that's like all the cozy sweater vibes, not make a tank top vibes. So I know, like, a lot of times I finish stuff and I won't necessarily get to wear it for very long, if at all, before the season is over. But I do feel you on that. At least we'll have some cool evenings. Kaylin, you've been doing a lot. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do something different. Again, if I block the snot out of it, I think it's fine. I just don't want to have to go that route. So anyone new here, I'm going to do something that I haven't done in a while. So if you would like to join the Facebook group for free, there is the QR code up on the screen. And, that's just a little thanks for joining live in I was going to say middle of January, but I guess it's really the last week of January. And when it asks you for a password, literally comment anything, and I'll see that you were here, and it's fine. So I think we're small, but I think that's actually probably the time to join these Facebook groups, is when it is small and you can kind of get to know the core group. So as a thank you for joining tonight, when you could be doing literally anything else on a Tuesday, chores, whatever. I'll leave that QR code on the screen for the remainder of the live today. And Lynn, what are you working on? Tester mitts. I did see your mittens. If you shared, I think I saw them on your actual feed on Facebook, not not in the Facebook group for Stitch is Gonna Stitch. If you are looking for me online, it is Holly Hobbies. Apparently there's 2 of us. One of them makes wreaths out of like the nylon meshy things. And I found that out by accident when someone was like, hey, how do you do this thing? And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. it was fine. It was just that's been my Ravelry handle since I joined Ravelry. I think I started Ravelry maybe a year or two after it started. I was one of the first ones. Sorry, Milo was just about to pounce on the keyboard, and so like, good times. Now he wants to play with the yarn. He really is being like a boy toddler right now. So we'll just have some kitty time. So yeah, I know. It's so funny because there's times where I'll sit and knit or crochet forever and it's like the yarn doesn't exist, and then all of a sudden it's like the best thing in the world for like him and Madeline. Yeah, hi Milo. Chloe just likes to like smush her face into whatever I'm working on, especially if it's something like it has the alpaca in it. She just likes to like sniff it. I don't know. It should actually do on the replay. You know what? And I don't have my thing open to pop it into the description box really quickly because I've worked my computer quite a bit this afternoon. Right before this, I did film my next video. It is my 2 most scorching hot takes, all wrapped into one because they kind of go together a little bit. So it's been doing a lot today. Probably shouldn't have done that, but I was just in that mode. And you know me, when I get my opinion going, I just have to like get all the words out and everything. So yes. So I'm actually not sad about another winter storm this weekend, other than like it would be nice to go run over to my mom's house really quickly or whatever without feeling like I'm on a time crunch or something like that. So hopefully the snow is okay-ish. And then we had another like little bit of a round, apparently around rush hour today. So I was very thankful that I had already decided with the winter weather to work from home on Monday and Tuesday, which I don't normally do. And so going in 3 days in a row is going to feel fun. So, but yes, this QR code will be on, I'm all over the place. When am I not? The QR code will be up. So even if you're watching the replay, first of all, thanks. Let me know where you are watching from. Tell me that you are watching the replay, and feel free, as a thank you again for putting up with all of this, to join the Facebook group for free. Normally, you do have to do the lowest membership tier, which is like 99 cents a month or something. But, so it's a pretty low barrier to get in. I don't like feeling like I'm excluding people, but also I want to make sure the right people are in the group, if that makes sense. So hopefully that will stay okay. Luckily, I think that is one of the benefits of our Facebook group being on the smaller side is we get to know each other, and it hasn't happened yet, but I think it'll be super obvious if anyone comes in and shouldn't is there for the wrong reasons. So yay. Okay, I don't remember if I have the auto accept on right now, but I will definitely look for you. Yeah. I will if you're joining the Facebook group right now, as this is live, I was probably going about 45 minutes or an hour or so. So as soon as we hop off, I will go ahead and accept any of the new members, and I'm so excited because we have an awful lot of fun. We have a WIP Wednesday thread, and then everybody just shares whatever they feel like throughout the week of what they're working on. If you haven't noticed, I'm a huge lover of memes, so feel free to share any memes if you want to be featured on Meme Monday. If you don't want credit and you want to be anonymous, that's also totally okay. But I know there's a lot of Facebook groups out there that have a lot of like restrictions like that. The only thing I don't necessarily want is like super self promotion. I think I am going to start. This was on my mind the other day, and I forgot to do this. Is start a thread or two of like, feel free to go ahead and promote your Instagram, your Facebook, anything like that. That way, it's like in one spot, and it's not spamming the entire feed, because I know that can also be annoying. But I also like promoting other channels and people trying to do social media and that sort of a thing. It's just fun. Say what you want about social media, but being able to connect all around the world has been really awesome for crafts and everything like that. And I feel like I talked about this in another live at one point too, of like, you can absolutely curate your own algorithm in your own feed. So on my personal account, my feed basically right now is like my family and friends. Makes sense. Ducks, bunnies somehow, like, in rabbits that started to infiltrate, cats, obviously. That's about it. Because the more you interact with that type of content online, that's Facebook, well, any social media platform will recognize that's what's going to keep you on the platform. So the more you like X out of things or quickly scroll past them, that's how you can kind of curate, your feed. So, um, just something to think about is we try to use social media better, and, you know, that's just how I look at it. Oh, well, thanks. It's so funny. I almost never watch on my phone or my computer. Smart TVs were probably the best invention for me. And, well, I thank you. I'll accept everybody in. I don't think I have the auto feature in because I don't know. You just never know. That's the only bad side of social media. You just never know who's going to try to join something that they don't belong to, or bots or whatever. And there are ways that I can tell on my end if someone's out of place even before they can join. So, but yes, they are all so cute. I always feel bad for Chloe that she doesn't really get attention, but it's also kind of like she never wants to be around in videos and stuff. So, yeah, we're Milo and Madeline. They just do whatever they feel like doing. I do miss that about Queso a little bit. He was a ham. I don't know what it was. He knew what a camera was, and he was going to get in there and just steal the show. So I really miss having him around for that purpose, because I don't know, to me that was actually really fun to, like, I would just see like in the background of any video, and then, I put my little bloops of their names and whatever and what they're up to, and put little captions on. Those were pretty early on in the channel, so been over a year since he's been in the channel, which is sad, but that's okay. That's why I got Milo. So sometimes he does sort of the same thing, and other times now his batteries are already dying. He's gonna take a snooze after he unplugged the lighting and got a yarn and more yarn, and so and tried to stop the live stream, which we don't want. But anyway, so I know where some of you are from. I don't know that if you all remember where you are all from. So feel free to pop in where you are from, and if you got any of the winter blasts and how much of the snow, or if you just got ice or whatever, if you're further down south. So some of you are fairly new to the channel. Even if I recognize your name, I feel like I hadn't seen you much until recently. And I do really enjoy, to me, this is the best part of doing YouTube, is getting to know others. I know, oh, well, thank you. Thanks for joining. I know at one point, I had this thought. I don't know how to make this happen, and I don't know if this is something YouTube will eventually do about, and maybe I just don't know how to use it. So if this is a feature you know about and I'm just being silly, it'd be cool if, like, you could have like multiple people, like a big collab all at once. I know like that's sort of a thing on TikTok in a way. I don't know. I also don't really do TikTok anymore, and I never really got the hang of using it. I know one of my friends who does quilting has like that works for her. That's her jam. She loves doing it, and that's the only reason I know that you can do like that multi-person whatever. And I know YouTube, like they're being smart and conservative and making sure like their internal like workings are stable enough to handle something like that. And it'd be cool to be able to just be like, hey, I could add people to the live as I felt like it. And then we could all sit here and take turns chatting about everything that we're working on and all that stuff. Ooh, Columbus was at a level 3, and so if you're not familiar, at least up until sometime yesterday, level 3 means basically nobody's allowed on the road unless you're police, fire, EMS, that sort of thing. So hopefully that was after all that. Really? I haven't done ASMR, or not that I've done ASMR, but like I haven't listened or had a ASMR up in a while, but I really had only thought about YouTube for that. And I like the slimy ones, which is very specific. I know. I don't know why, but I just like the sound of like the slime squishing, and that's so weird. California, you got lucky. Ooh. I liked spinning. However, the problem I had was, okay, then I would spin and then I'm like, okay, now I have to apply it if I was doing applied yarn with multiple strands. And then I'd like, okay, I make the skein. I'm like, well, I just want to be done now. So I don't know. I'm just getting all sorts of, I think, oh, it might be like weather alerts or something because we had a winter squall, like one last little blast come through a little bit ago. But spinning I felt like it was very cathartic. So I definitely, uh, good books to read. Yeah. I started getting back into reading. I kind of started a little bit last year around this time of the year for no reason other than, I don't know, I just wanted to get back into reading. And then, so I did make myself this year a very, very um, conservative, the right word. It's not a very aggressive goal of reading this year because I think I really still only read like 2 books last year, other than flipping through all of my Calvin and Hobbes, which, not to say that's not enjoyable, but like, did I learn or get anything or learn any new words? No, it's Calvin and Hobbes. It was just really unwinding. So my very, very easy, low-hanging fruit goal was 6 books this year, and I do want to make at least 3 of them nonfiction. So I have checked out a bunch of stuff, and I'm barely halfway through the first book. They've already auto-renewed, which is sad. So audiobooks I tend to go through more because I can listen to them on the way home when I have a little bit of headspace. Yeah, and I know like StreamYard, the plan I'm on, which I have the free plan. I don't know why I'm acting like it's a big thing. I forget how many users I can have, and it's not a lot. The next tier up used to be something like $17 or $20, which for a while I wouldn't have minded paying for, at least in my previous channel. And I want to, that's where you can like add even more. Like there's different like levels of like quality. So I'm streaming in 720p. It's still a decent quality. And then 1080p, so still decently high definition, is the next tier up. And that was originally a part of that. That is now, I want to say $47 or $49 a month. It's up there, and that was hard for me to stomach. And then obviously, like probably the bigger channels are the ones that stream all the time. I mean, I forget how many people you can have on there. And that's StreamYard. Riverside is fairly similar, I think, in their structure and pricing, give or take. And then I don't know about OBS, which is technically free, but the learning curve on OBS is extremely high. It doesn't have like all these nice little user interfaces where I just hit buttons and like I can pop a QR code on the screen. Like, you have to know computers, and like, I don't know if you need to know coding or not, but it's very daunting. I think I downloaded it once and went, no. That's a problem for future Holly to figure out. Yeah. Ooh, only ice. Okay, well, at least it wasn't as much as it was predicted, and hopefully it wasn't too bad. I don't mind, I don't know, like, I don't mind brushing. It just wasn't my favorite for ASMR. Sorry, this is the first time I can't keep up with comments. That's kind of exciting. But yeah, that's the other thing is like, and I used to always end my day with reading. I feel like the only reason I haven't been doing that super consistently with the book that I'm on is because, like, this is also a part of the reason why I want to do more nonfiction reading as well, is like, I hate when I can tell how a book is going to end, or I'm pretty sure how the book is going to end. And like 10% of the way in, I was like, really? It's bad enough when halfway through I can kind of tell what's going to happen, but 10% of the way, I'm really only continuing to read it just because it is written pretty well. And I did learn a few new words, like really expanding the vocabulary, which is why I do like the written form of that. So I could listen to audiobooks while I knit or crochet, but I would rather have TV on in the background that doesn't necessarily require me to super engage, especially when I was doing the yoke of the ranunculus, where you've got a lot of paying attention and counting, and mistakes were made even by not trying to also pay attention to a book. Because especially for nonfiction, I've learned that I don't do well with audiobooks, especially when I'm driving, because if I do that thing where you like slightly zone out a little bit, or you have to like pay attention to what's going on around you while you're driving. And for anyone concerned, I usually take the country roads home, but occasionally there's still a little bit traffic between there and home, work and home. But I felt like I was constantly rewinding, where if I'm listening to something like a Mel Robbins book or Atomic Habits, anything in that genre, where really, as long as I get the major points of a chapter, that is what works for me the best in audiobooks. So, yeah. But that's my very, very reachable, low-hanging fruit goal of reading is 6 whole books, because I recognize that that was still going to be an improvement from last year and feel doable. And I don't even want to say I'll probably exceed it, because obviously I fell off last year around spring. Yeah. Ooh, I get that. I get that. I don't know. I think it really just depends. And that's where, like, if it's a story where there's like pieces, parts, and like for instance, the book that I'm reading right now is like, it's going back to like the 80s and then present day and then 80s and present day. I can't do audio books like that for sure. But for something where I just need to understand the main like points, and that's what helps. No nonfiction. I can actually appreciate that, especially for a book club, which I have no room to talk on a book club. I've never been in a book club, but in my mind, if I was going to join a book club, I want it to be something where like you have the ability to interpret what's going on and talk about like things where like nonfiction is like, okay, clearly this thing happened. I don't know what else to say about it. It happened. Dark fantasy romance. Interesting. And Kaylin, thanks for joining the membership. I think I have like custom emojis if you want to play around with them. I don't remember. Yes, I do. Okay. I think I was just like when I was redoing the tiers, because I originally had a bunch of tiers of memberships, and I'm like, just do one and do better at that. I feel like the YouTube like live native, I just never could quite figure out how to make it happen from my phone would have been the easiest. I don't know. Like I got too in my head about it. Now they are rolling out the feature and I haven't seen it hit my account yet where you can like mock, like pretend like you're going live and you get to play around with it. I think that's very, very smart to do that, and had that been a feature much sooner, I probably would have done that. So anyway. Honestly, normally I struggle with bouncing back and forth between like different timelines. This one is actually written. I'm trying to think of the right way to say it's not like it's sort of simple. It's simple enough or straightforward enough because I have learned a lot of like some new words, not like in a weird way, just like wow, that like I had to really think about what does this mean. But I don't think I could do it often, and I didn't know that this was going to be that kind of a book because my method for choosing books is there's no method. It's go to the library and be like, I don't know, this sounds interesting, which has bitten me before because I almost started, I'm glad I caught it before I actually started reading a book last year where I was like, I must have read the inside flap or something, and I was like, oh, this is the second in a series. Because I did the, there's no reason. I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting, and picked not the first book in a series. So, but yeah, they're rolling out YouTube. I forget how many features they're rolling out right now. So I noticed like not everyone has hype, but sometimes like, I don't know, it's so weird. And it's hard because it's like you see the new thing. So I wanted to like hype up videos for other creators, and I'm like, but it's not there. And I don't know, maybe it's like it's only for like the first week after a video posts. I have no idea. I really don't. Novel theme. Okay. No matter the book, we always found. See, and I think that's if I was going to do a book club, that's the way to do it. Is like to have something where you can actually have like debates and discussions of like meanings and oh my gosh, like different artifacts and everything throughout the book, and kind of like, oh well, there's all these little Easter eggs and things like that. So books and I read them. Ooh. Oh, yeah, graphic. That can be taken more than one way, and either way, I'm with you. Regardless of what you mean, I'm with you. I think that's why, like, for a while, I tended towards like young adult novels because by and large, they're not going to get that in depth. And it's like, okay, the story usually is going to have like a happy ending and like, oh, and this high school crush like get together at the end or whatever the case is. Like it's going to be a feel good story usually no matter what. Now, granted, there's probably ones that aren't, and I just haven't found them because I haven't been reading that much lately. But for a while, that was kind of my MO, was just young adult fiction. So it's easy to read. I can unwind at night. Of course, there's probably going to be things that happen along the way, like challenges and climax and all that other, like all the literary stuff. But chances are it's going to be a feel good ending. So, yeah. And I also find it interesting how many people are into like fiber arts and are also big readers. I know Taylor Earl of Wool Needles Hands podcast. She's also got another channel with, I want to say, her husband about books. I forgot the name of that channel. I just know her face when I see it pop up. um, yeah, I feel like there's a lot of second channels popping up for the book thing. The other thing I've heard, and I don't know, I haven't felt compelled enough to both read and knit or crochet at the same time, but I have had friends that they will get, like, especially if they have kids in band or orchestra, the music stand that you can put your book on, and then some of them have the like page holder things, and that's a way that, you know, okay, obviously this is my camera, but pretend that this is a book and you could read and knit or crochet, and do both things. So I don't know, just a thought if you're feeling like you still want written stuff, because I'm never going to be a Kindle person, iPad person. I really have tried. I have tried downloading stuff on my iPad, and I cannot do it. I understand the portability of it. I know someone I used to work with, she that's how she used her Kindle, was like, okay, I'm gonna go like heat up my lunch really fast and then go to my car and read while I eat my lunch. And for that purpose, I can kind of understand it, but I like books. Hey, I have not seen you in forever, and I am so sorry I'm blanking on your name. I feel terrible right now because you were part of my original channel. Oh my goodness. Hey, how's it going? You should be celebrating your boyfriend's birthday with him. I really did not expect to see you today, Jess, but thanks for popping in. So, um, I know I already told Brian happy birthday, but happy birthday again. So, I know Jess in real life, obviously. But yeah, so anyone who is trickling in, there's there's a QR code in one of these corners. Everything's flipped around on my screen. So for tonight, thanks for joining. It is free to join the Facebook group. You don't have to become a member of the channel. That's normally how you would gain access to the Facebook group, is by joining the YouTube channel membership. Um, there is a point where it asks what the password is. Put anything, put Arctic Blast, put, I don't know, today's date, something. I'll know. I see who's here. So and if you're watching on the replay, also feel free. So I definitely appreciate it. We're small, but we get, we have a lot of fun in the group. And yeah, that's fair. I mean, especially like we got that blast of snow this evening, so who wants to do anything? So one of my friends said it took her like almost an hour and a half to get home from work. That's horrible. And she's got like the straight shot. I don't. She's got a straight shot from the highway, so like it should have taken her like half an hour. So, good times. Northeast Ohio. We forgot what winter was like. We got spoiled the last couple of years. Like the last few winters, we had times where it was cold and we might get kind of like heavy-ish snow in February or January here and there, but this is Ohio being Ohio. Yeah. Okay. I already talked about a lot of the stuff that I have been working on. So I won't bore everybody. I call this a crochet chat because I really did not when I created it, I did not expect that I was going to be done with the crochet portion of the fingerless mitts for my sister-in-law's birthday in about a week and a half now. So I made a last minute decision to go ahead and do knit ribbing for her, and they're working up nicely. So this fulfilled exactly what I needed, which was I needed like a quick win type of a project. And then also, you know, goes with my try to gift my knitting and crocheting and out of stash yarn because this has been in my stash for years. And, yeah, yeah. So my work friend, she was coming from the opposite end, but coming in the you would have been crossing paths. So is all I'm gonna say. Yeah. Do I even still have my music stand? I might even in one of my closets. I just, like I said, for some reason, I don't have it in me to read and knit or crochet at the same time. I don't know. I maybe it's also because like I feel like I'm just going to be more prone to making mistakes because I already do that a shocking amount even for simple stuff like ribbing, just sitting here doing the least amount of work while I'm chatting. So I should probably double check and make sure I haven't made any mistakes or I'll find it later. I think that's, yeah. I have been truly fascinated at some of the mistakes that I've found after trying to knit or crochet on a live stream. But, you know, and of course, anyone who has, you know, joined the Facebook group tonight or the YouTube membership. So thanks, Kaylin. Once we hop off, I'll go ahead and make sure everyone gets accepted in. And the Facebook group is always who gets to see my projects and latest whatevers first, because I can only do so many things at once. And Instagram, I don't know. I feel like I've never really been big on Instagram. Like I don't mind it, but I'm at that generation of like Facebook came out and it was that's what I know how to use. So it's easy for me to just flip flop my accounts and then go through there. Um so by all means, find me on Facebook. Holly Hobbies is my name on Facebook. I'm wearing my Actually, if I'm going to say this, that means I can't change my profile picture. But currently, in my profile picture, I'm wearing my water lily top, the pink version. I was actually getting ready to switch it out because it's winter, and I'm like, I feel like I should have a winter sweater. But if you're a friend of the channel, you'll recognize something that I'm wearing in my profile picture. So feel free to follow me over there. It's good times. I feel like YouTube tried to make the community tab more like because it is opened up now where others, and I did the thing where I do allow my audience to post on my community tab. They're not doing themselves any favors, especially if you're on mobile, because you have to like know where to find the community tab. And then I think they were just way too late to the party on that to be able to have those fun things. Jess, oh my gosh, Sabrina, thanks. Thanks for joining the membership. I really appreciate it. You guys did not have to do that. But I definitely appreciate it. FOMO. I always want to do one of those, and I feel like the farthest I've ever gotten was like 2 snowflake. It's usually like a hexagon shape or something, and then I lose interest because then you have to seam them all together. FOMO. Yeah, that's annoying. I know Olga went through that with her Facebook group or her Facebook page, and she just gave up on Facebook. So I can kind of get that. Um, yeah, and I feel like the snowflake blanket I have might be in like a physical printed book from like probably 10, 15 years, no, 15, 20 years ago, maybe longer. And then it's got a couple of different kinds of snowflakes. So I'm curious to know, like, are yours all the same type of snowflake so that you can kind of internalize it? And I can't remember how many types of snowflakes were in the one pattern book, but I thought that would have at least kept it interesting enough. It did not. I was also like probably in my 20s at the time, and my attention span was way worse than what it is now. I've been really hyper fixating. Like, even though I've really only finished like one thing so far, I also like have been I've hyper fixated to the point where I've made these in like 2 evenings almost. Realistically I can get these done this tonight. Like, but it's also been at the point where like the one pair of socks that I showed earlier, not those ones, the super neon-y ones. Yes, this bag. These ones, I almost had to pull myself away because if I had the goal of working on my ranunculus for Valentine's Day for no reason, because I don't have a date other than a haircut appointment. I don't know why, but like we do this. Like I put silly like I don't know why. Like I just wanted to have it done by Valentine's Day, which meant I actually had to force myself to stop working on the socks to go ahead and make that. Also, then I had to order more of the drops, not the mohair, alpaca silk to hold double with it once I decided that I wanted to hold it double. So, good times. And I really didn't think I was going to enjoy working with stuff double, and I don't feel like every project needs to be held double. This was already a very halo-y yarn, so it was barely adding anything to it. To me, it was just about having the color play. So I follow on Facebook Knitting for Olive, and I sort of got inspiration from, they were doing a series, and they're probably still doing a series of like, they would swatch like a regular wool with colors you wouldn't expect to pair. So not just like what is matchy. So that's how I got the inspo. This is still a way brighter pink than I thought when it first, like when it came in the mail. I was like, oh, what did I order? But I'm really happy with how they work together. So I might do some more stuff like this. Probably not for a while, especially if I'm trying not to buy yarn really this year. But since I was allowing myself to at least buy yarn to finish projects, that's where that landed. So interesting. It's funny because I have a couple of those, like my color crisis video and then the one about Pantone. I really did want to go down more rabbit holes of like the meanings of colors. And then at a certain point, I'm like, okay, I've been yapping for so long. I can have I feel like the video that I filmed this afternoon is probably the shortest one I've done in a while. And it's still running like 14, 15 minutes. So, and that was like, I cut it down even a little bit, and I don't know. You know me, when I get on a rant, I can just, and once I've like made my point, I'm like, okay, I made my point. So, the nice part about something like that though, is if it's one, like if it's easy to memorize or relatively easy to memorize, then, you can take it to a doctor's office or car appointment or something and not necessarily have to drag patterns and everything around. Mary, like, wait, I can't keep up. This is awesome. Thanks everyone for joining tonight. There's one. Mary Mac. Are you talking about a different snowflake granny square blanket? So I am sorry that like if someone, and I don't know if they're necessarily coming in order, but I'll have to look. what all is around there. The problem, I feel like there's pros and cons. It's awesome that there's this huge like surge of crocheters and knitters, and we're seeing also then an influx of wonderful patterns. But for someone who is like perpetually indecisive, it's like a double-edged sword of like, oh, I don't know, I have all these awesome options, but now I have all these awesome options, and that's why we got to the point where I went to a coworker and said, pick what I'm making this sweater out of. So, yeah. And honestly, that's how I was leaning too. So I feel like sometimes that's the other thing too, is sometimes getting that outside opinion tells you how you really feel, because if you disagree with that person, that's your truth, if that makes sense. So, yeah. Yeah. Cherry heart. I'll have to all these things to look up when I really don't need more stuff added to my favorites or my queue or more ideas. The other thing, I thought I brought it out and I did not, is I wanted to, once this is done and probably a couple more things. Well, this is, like I said, this is almost a nothing project. I'm gonna try to at least finish the crochet socks. Maybe one other sock. I don't know. We'll see. Um, Crochet by Jessie. Jessie, like her handle on YouTube is Jessie. She does a lot of mosaic crochet, so she's got the jumpers or sweaters of mosaic crochet. And I definitely want to do that next. I started narrowing down which type of color palette I want to do, at least for my first one. And I should have brought all that stuff out so I could show kind of what I'm thinking, but we can maybe do that next month, because let's be honest, I have plenty to work on between now and then. And then because one of the color palettes in my mind, I'm like, okay, but I'm already doing this, and it was leaning very pink and Valentine's-y, and I was like, yeah, I just want to do something a little bit different. So you're in like 6 Day Star Blanket, like just it's never going to end. I'm assuming those are the ones I'm thinking of, with all the, which isn't a bad thing. Sometimes it's kind of nice to have a familiar pattern like that too, but someday I'll work on mine. I feel like I've been saying that for over a year, that I'm gonna work on my 6 Day Star Blanket. It's so hard. So yeah. Anyway, let me make sure I didn't miss any other major headlines or anybody else that joined the membership. I don't think I did. So if I missed you, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now, is easy to memorize. I think that's one thing that I do like about having, like, for a top-down sweater, is like the interesting yoke is when you're in that like, yay, I cast it on, or I started crocheting something new. Like all the interesting stuff is in the front end. When you're like, just like, I don't care, I just want to work on it. And then when I'm like, okay, like, by the time I was getting down to here, I'm like, I don't want to have to think or count anymore, was like, it was just like the perfect thing to get into stockinette for, and just knit and knit and knit. And for the crocheters, that's like single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, until you have a whole sweater. So there's a lot of fun stuff. And then, yeah, we have been going for more than an hour, which is awesome. But I have not eaten dinner yet, believe it or not. So, unfortunately, as much fun as I am having, I will have to cut this a little bit. I don't even say short, because we went long. And we will definitely have to do this a little bit more often. It does seem like a weeknight is what people like to do. I'm going to have to keep that in mind. Oh, hey, Sarah. 6th hat of the year. You know what? Hats are something that, if I want something quick and relatively mindless, that's where I'm going to go. And I have whipped out hats pretty quickly before, so I totally get it. But with all that, I'm going to, I don't know, I guess start with figuring out what I'm gonna make for dinner. I was doing like that like project pantry challenge, and now I'm at the point of like I don't want to have to think anymore, but there's really not much left in my cupboards. And so at least easy stuff. And where now I'm like, oh, I actually have to like cook something now, which is good. It's fine. And it's my fault because I completely forgot to put something in the crock pot this morning. So by the time I realized, I'm like, oh no, it was like 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and there was no way. Um, for I wanted the low and slow. I didn't want to do the high setting on the crock pot. So I'm gonna hop off, and yeah, and you can always go back, watch the beginning if you want. For anyone that did join late, and if you didn't catch it, the QR code on one of these corners, even if you're watching the replay, feel free to go ahead and scan it. That will give you access to the Stitch is Gonna Stitch Facebook group. And then you can follow me on Facebook, Holly Hobbies, if you feel like it. You don't have to do all the things, just join with your heart is kind of how I feel on that. But so anyone that comments as like, because there's always a password, which if you join the YouTube membership, you get that password. Put literally anything I talked about in this live stream or Arctic Blast or something, and I'll make sure once I hop off, I will add you in. And as always, thank you so much for joining me and spending your time with me. And I guess that's the nice thing about an Arctic Blast is there's not that much else to do, is there? So I can't wait to see you in the next one. I will have a video going up probably in the next day or so. I will warn you, it is very spicy. It is very opinionated. If you're not in the mood for something like that, that is your fair warning now, that if I won't be upset if you want to skip it. I completely understand. Again, it's just something that it's been on my mind for a while, and then something jumped out over the weekend that I'm like, I gotta say, I gotta get it out. So I will see you in the next one. Bye.